I'm going to demonstrate Judy Becker's Magic Cast On. With a spin, you're going to see I have my circular needles here. I have a crochet hook and I have one double pointed needle as well. You're going to begin with 2 different color yarns. You can do this with 1 yarn. This is just for the demonstration, so it's visually clearer. Place a slip knot of the 2 yarns on one of the needles. The double pointed needle goes in the middle between the 2. I use it to tension my yarn. In my opinion, it gives an even tension to the stitches that you're producing. So here is the cast on. A lot of you are already familiar with it, so I'm not really going to go into detail on how I'm doing it. And when you look at the original demonstration on video by Judy Becker herself, she says that it doesn't matter if you're coming over, under, or however. What it does do is it will just affect the way the stitches present themselves. So I'm going to do 8 stitches of purple and 9 stitches of the white. And the reason I do this, especially when you're casting on for a toe, is so that the stitches will match better, because if you're doing 8 and 8, they will offset each other by about half a stitch. So on the back, I'm going to keep the purple yarn in my hand, and I will be doing my first row in white. So here we can see that the DPN needle is keeping the stitches nice and even in the middle. So the first thing I will do is I will pull my circular needle out from the bottom, then I will remove the DPN, and my first row of knitting I will use a crochet hook, and that is so that I don't distort the stitches. I just find it a lot easier just for the first row to do it in a crochet hook. So here we go. And many of you know that I like to do the reverse knitting, mirror knitting, backwards knitting, whatever you want to call it. And on Craftsy, it's Gwen Bortner's class on Interlock where she shows you how to do backward knitting. So I'm going to backward knit with the crochet hook. The second row I'm going to knit back. The only thing you have to remember is that the hook part should not be facing the needle, and that will make it very easy for you to knit using a crochet hook for the first row. Okay, so now we're going to be knitting backwards, going back. So, knitting backwards with a crochet hook. And the first stitch was actually the 2 stitches together. And so here we've done 2 rows. Now I'm going to turn it and twist my white and the purple yarns. And we're going to do the first row of the purple. So I pull back the purple stitches, and I will just take the bottom needle, pull it out because it's easier to knit that way. And the first row of the purple is going to actually be purling. So I will reverse knit, backwards knit, purling the first row. I'm no longer using the crochet hook. If, for example, when I'm using sock yarn, sometimes I will also reverse knit with the crochet hook because the yarn is so much smaller. Now I've come up to the slip knot, which I don't need. So I just remove it off the needle and I knit back. And once I knit back, I'm in a position to, when I'm doing the double knitting, for example, to set up to do double knitting. I have the 2 yarns here, so I would just fold these together, put them all on one needle and do my double knitting. And you can see what a nice, and even you can see by having knitted those 2 stitches together, the purple and the white stitches are lying on top of one another. They're not offset by half a stitch. Okay, so let's take a look at the back. Here's the back of the cast on using the DPN. If you find here, for example, I could have used a DPN that was slightly smaller. I can see that there's a bit of a gap here because of the thickness of the DPN. So this is a judgment call, and because it's so simple and very fast, you can just redo it with maybe a smaller DPN. But if it was for the double knitting, I would have kept that because it just gives just a little bit extra slack for me to begin this way of knitting.